Welcome back to DeLorean Rental. Today we've got a very fun episode. If you can't tell from the title, that'll eventually be on YouTube. So we've got Ben Scott joining us. And Ben, I'll let you go ahead and give your own intro, who you are, and your background.
I'm Ben Scott. I'm a stuntman, stunt coordinator, actor, sometimes second unit director. Been in the movie business for 45 years now. Started when I was really, really, really young, but worked on a lot of good films. And Back to the Future is a highlight of my career too.
Yeah, I was quite surprised. I don't know what my face looked like. And just to give a brief introduction, how I met you a week ago, a little over a week ago at C2E2 Chicago Comic Con.
Right.
We had our DeLorean time machine, and you walked up to the booth, and we just started chatting about whatever. And you had pointed, "Oh, I was in that." I said, "You were in what?" She said, "I was involved in Back to the Future." And I was just so taken aback. That's the first time that's ever happened to me. I think anybody would be surprised to have someone walk up to them and say, "Oh, I was involved in the movie." What?
Right.
So
Right.
that's kind of how you and I met. And I had mentioned, "Hey, it'd be great to interview you or to get you involved in some cons if possible," because I think just the brief stories that you told me, I was like, people would love to hear this because social media didn't exist back then. It wasn't, there was no platforms for these type of stories. So, and again, I don't want to ruin anything for anybody that watches this. So, now were you involved in, was it just part three or was it 1, 2, and 3?
No, I worked on all three of them. My brother, Walter Scott, who is my mentor, big brother, he's 18 years older than me. He was the stunt coordinator on all three of them. Him and Max Clevens was the second unit director. And Walter got me in the business. I wanted to be like him from being a little kid watching him, you know. And the first one, I think I did a little driving. The second one, I did a little more driving. The third one, Back to Future 3, I doubled Biff. Oh, I had another brother in it too. He doubled him on 1 and 2, driving the car and stuff. And on 3, I did the horsebacking because I love horses and I ride a lot. And
Yeah.
I got to do that. Yeah.
We'll get to that in a minute. You and I actually briefly discussed that. I was, again, blown away by some of that. So on 1, you say driving. Was it driving in the DeLorean? Was it driving some of the other cars? Like how
Some
all
of the
the
other cars. Yeah, I was one of the ND stunt guys where the DeLorean passed us when it was driving fast. It would go around us and just kind of there for ND traffic on both of them. Actually, never really got to drive the DeLorean. Charlie Crowell drove the DeLorean a lot. He's a good friend. He doubled Michael J. And yeah, my brother who doubled Biff got to drive the convertible. I forget what it was, but it's a nice looking little car when all the manure got dumped on them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So how was that on the set of part 1? I mean, I know part 1 and then 2 and 3 filmed kind of around the same time, but did you get a lot of interaction with like the main cast?
No, not much. Not
Much in
much
the
at
first one?
all.
Yeah.
No, I mean, I worked 1 day on it.
Oh, really?
That's it. 1 day on 1 day on 2, and then 7 or 8 weeks on 3.
Yeah, I knew 3 you had a lot more going on. So part 2, what all did you do in that one?
Same thing. Same thing. I was driving a car, just ND driver.
Boy, that's got to be I'd take that job.
Yeah, right. Me too.
You get to hang out in a movie set and
Just drive. That's
yeah.
that's like our bread and butter. That's icing on the cake to be able to drive because everybody wants to drive, and it's easy. And usually you're not crashing much. You're just out there. Even if you do crash, you got a big old metal all the way around you, and everybody wants to do the chases and the crashes and the jumps. And
Yeah.
I always say, hey man, you got to go through all the other stuff first. You got to do a couple of naked stair falls and some fire burns and get beat up. Then maybe you get to do the driving.
That's a foreign world for somebody
Yeah.
like me who's, not in the film business. I've been around a lot of actors, but certainly never been involved. I mean, again, I was looking at your IMDb page and I was blown away. And I'll link to it also in the description so people can see just the magnitude of movies that you've been involved in. I didn't know that. I was shocked. I really was. Yeah, Shawshank Redemption. I saw. I mean, just it
Oh,
was.
that was a fun one. That was
I was
really
going down through it. I was like, my gosh.
That's like
So
history
when
right there.
do what?
That's like history right there, real history. The
You're
prison
out.
we worked in was real prison. It was the
Yeah.
one of the last remaining self-contained prison in the United States.
Ohio? Was it in Ohio, right?
Cleveland, Ohio, just outside of Cleveland. I forget the small town we were in, but it was pretty eerie going down in those jail cells and stuff and actually working in that prison.
Yeah. They give tours of it now, I believe. You can go on YouTube and watch videos of it. It looks just like it did in the movie. I mean,
It's
close enough, right? It's had seen better days, certainly, because it's been torn down or non-used for so long.
right,
But so in 1 and 2, I know you mentioned just like one day on each. Were those closed sets as far as at Universal, or was that like in the city or around LA when like Biff's grandma's house, or like how did that?
I worked up on the road to Griffith Park
Okay.
Observatory. And
Okay,
that
so
was
we're the tunnel, by the tunnel.
yeah, by the tunnel, before the tunnel, after the tunnel. Yeah, that's
Okay.
where I worked.
Okay.
Yeah. Some on Universal backlot also.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, part 3 is where what you and I discussed. I think we talked for 5 or 10 minutes, and I was like, I want to know more about this, particularly because um, correct me if I'm wrong, because I know our conversation wasn't, all that long. You were either the guy or one of the guys who pulled Michael J. Fox in the street as he was
Uh-huh.
roped. That was you.
I didn't pull Michael J. I actually roped Charlie Crowell, who was his double.
Okay, yeah.
I rode down the street. It was Biff's double on the black horse, the bad guy, and I roped Charlie Crowell, jerk him down, turn around, and drag him up the street with all three of my gang members behind him, which was one stuntman and two actors, I believe.
Yeah.
And I think it was all doubles when I was dragging him. But I drag him all the way around the corner and all the way up, and then I drag him into the wood that's stacked on the side of a building. And he
Yeah.
picks all the wood, knocks all the wood down.
Yeah.
And I get past that and I hear cut. And I'm like, oh, okay. So I undo and let him go. And all three of those guys behind him, their horses stepped all over him. They say a horse won't step on you when you're underneath them. Ha! That's a lie.
Oh,
They stepped
no.
all over. I felt so bad. My brother was so mad at me. He came yelling at me, what the heck? Well, I heard cut. Well, it don't matter. You need to keep going to keep him from getting run over. I'm like, oh, okay. My bad.
Oh, my gosh. How
Yeah.
many takes? Was that one take or was it multiple takes?
I think we did it like 3 times. Yeah, just 3 times. The first one was when I let go of him and he got a little bit trampled.
I think we had mentioned I know Bobby, who was one of Michael J.
Right.
Fox's.
Michael J.
Just
Stand-in. Yeah.
yeah, just such a great guy.
Yeah. Really nice guy.
Yeah, he's always been nice to me. I've helped out. I think as I mentioned to you, he took over the Back to the Future Part 3 meetup that they have now in the summers at the actual location there out in the middle of nowhere.
Sonora.
Yeah, Sonora. So I'm trying to help promote that for them. Hopefully they're doing it this year. If so, I'll be promoting that as well for them.
Yeah, I got an invite to go out there, I think September 17th.
Yeah, I think that's when it is.
I'm not sure the exact dates, but September 17th for like a meet and greet. And then it's a week long. And they said they put me up and put me on a panel and I can tell my stories. And it was pretty cool. He said, all I got to do is get myself there.
And I mean, who wouldn't want to hear them? But you're also at the actual location. So
yeah, we had a good time up there.
how cool is that?
Sonora was great.
Were you around? And I think we briefly touched on it when I met you. Were you around when they actually hung Michael J. Fox from the courthouse? Or
oh yeah.
So when he had the incident, the issue where he was actually choking, you were on set for that?
I was underneath him. I was right by his legs, and what actually happened, we'd already done it 3 or 4 times. It all was good. We had him in the harness. He was all good. And he was actually standing on an apple box, I believe, when it happened. And I think, from my guesstimation, we'd already done it. He'd done a great job. He's a great actor. And he was putting his hand inside the rope.
Yeah.
And I think what happened was, I mean, he's a method actor, man. He's really good. And he was really, really trying to sell it.
Yeah.
And when he grabbed inside that rope, I think his knuckles got into his jugglers and cut off the circulation to his brain, so he wasn't getting oxygen. I mean, you can do it right now to yourself, and you can feel your oxygen start to go away. And we were going through it, and he was his eyes rolled back in his head, and he said, "Mom." I'm like, "Oh crap." My brother yelled, "Get him." And I reached and I grabbed him and lifted him up just in case he was choking himself. And then we set him down, and yeah, he actually knocked himself out. And I've been around some wrestlers that do that to each other, where they, collapse the jugular and knock each
Yeah,
other out. It's not a good thing. It's just something that happens, and it
sure.
happened to Michael J. It was kind of scary, especially for
Yeah, I've seen people. I'm not a conspiracy theorist. I've seen people say, "Oh, well, that's what triggered, his onset Parkinson's," and there's no medical data that ever supports that. But yeah, Michael's talked about it a few times on a few interviews that I've seen. Like, "Hey, no, I really was choking," and yeah, right. He's a
yeah.
great actor. Maybe
But the
people were
noose
just
wasn't around his neck. The noose was not choking him.
it
He
was
was
him. His
holding himself, and he kind of did it to himself.
interesting.
That's my look at it. He's probably got a different story, but yeah, we had unhooked him and everything, and he was just doing some close-ups.
Well, you would know better than anybody else. You were there, so
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It was not a good deal. Was not fun.
so you spent what did you say 7 or 8 weeks on site
Yeah,
there
yeah. And Sonora,
in Sonora? And I know later on it ended up unfortunately burning down.
right?
Yeah,
That's
it's there's a video online of some guy who just was, but well before it burned down, just walking around the set, after filming, and
yeah,
in the bar, and I mean it. I
right.
would have loved to have had the opportunity to go there and see that setting. And people are still, you can go find pieces from filming that people have dug up um,
Oh,
of the location.
huh.
Um, yeah, so
I haven't rebuilt it or anything.
no, they haven't. That'd be cool if somebody's got that kind of funds to do that. Maybe the courthouse, or I don't know, something.
Yeah,
If
that'd be
somebody
cool.
has that kind of money, that would be really cool. It'd be a tourist destination. I think people would want to see it.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, any other kind of fun stories from the set? You were there 7 8 weeks.
Oh,
Anything else you're involved in there?
I did the manure dump thing where Biff gets manure dumped on him, and it was a wagon, a horse-drawn wagon, and it was
Yeah.
full of manure, and I had to fall onto it, and then it tips up, and all the manure dumped and
So that was you
buried me.
in. That was you that fell face first into it.
Yes, and then it dumps up and just totally covered me completely. I'm like, oh great, hope I can
All.
breathe under here. I can hold my breath for a little while, but
What was the manure made out of? Do you remember?
it was alfalfa pellets that they wet, and forget what else, some grass and stuff.
Because
Yeah, was not real horse
when
manure.
when Tom Wilson got up and spit that out, oh, I mean, I've had the opportunity to meet him a few times as well. Nicest guy.
He's so cool. I love Tom. He's quite the entertainer.
He is, and I tell people, I'm like, yeah, he was great as Biff, but you need to look at all the other stuff he's been in. He's been in some, I mean, some big movies as well. But he's, um, as a comedian, I got to see him, and
Yeah,
I forget what comedy club it was here in Illinois a
yeah,
couple years back. He's so funny.
yeah,
I think people just really need to appreciate just the talent that he is, and
yeah, yeah. Plays the guitar, sings. He's really good.
he paints.
Okay, yeah,
He really is a true artist. Christopher
talented.
Lloyd, met him a few times. We've worked with him. He's been in the car, quiet but very, very, very nice.
Yeah,
Uh, Always love our time with him. Leah Thompson, sweetheart. Um, Been
yeah.
around her a few times. And Michael, I've been fortunate to meet, but it's been more in the recent years. But
Hmm.
I think he's doing okay. He has good days and his bad days, and
Right. He's
I'm
fighting.
happy to. Yeah, he is. And that's why I've got a link on our website to the Michael J. Fox Foundation. So hopefully people continue to donate,
Right.
to that. So yeah, hopefully I'm going to try and add in some clips as we've been talking.
Right.
Uh,
One more story,
yeah.
and it was really, really awesome to be there and be on it. Zemeckis brought in ZZ Top for the dance scene,
Yep.
and the prop guys gave him one snare drum, one guitar that had like three strings on it. The drummer, he just had a He had one good drumstick, and the other one I think he carved out of a stick that he found somewhere. And they did their whole deal, and it's lunch. Everybody go to lunch. Nobody went to lunch because they rocked. They started playing and they weren't stopping, and it was awesome. They were playing their songs and different songs, and I mean, it sounded great. Everybody just was like, this is great. This is great. We had our own mini concert right there in the square of the town in Sonora. And they just kept going and kept going. Finally, Zemeckis got back from lunch, said, "Hey, this is all great and fun and everything, but we got a movie to shoot here. We need to kind of wrap this up. Let's go." And they
Wow.
stopped. It was so neat, so fun.
There is some not great footage, but there's some footage from some of the behind the scenes stuff of all three movies. I wish somebody would have been there to have got that on film. That would have been something to see.
Well, I mean, you see them; they are in the band in the movie.
That's true.
You don't see
That's true,
the
but
lunch part because we didn't have the phones that videoed everything.
I know, and that's why I feel like you and other people who are still around, thankfully, that have these stories. Right? These are stories people that are fans of Back to the Future should have the opportunity to hear,
Yeah,
and I think would want to hear because we weren't there. I wasn't there.
right,
Yes, it's my favorite movie, favorite trilogy of all time, but people want to hear these type of behind the scenes stories and
right.
see those behind the scenes pictures and video because it all lends to the overall making of it and how it was made and the process that went into making it.
Right.
Again, the Michael J. Fox almost hanging himself story. It's almost taking on a life of itself online. If you've ever gone on and looked at it, people have got all these theories and stories and it was probably this or it was probably that. You were actually there, right? You were the person that was right below him, and I
Yeah, I
don't think
watched it
I
all
don't
happen.
know that I've ever heard you tell that story anywhere else. So
Nope.
I'm I feel extremely privileged and lucky that you just happened to walk up to our booth and said, "Hey,
Right.
that was
It's a
it."
touchy subject because I have heard Michael say that could have been the start of
Yeah,
his breakdown, his physical breakdown, and I don't know if it was or not. And it was not a good. I never talked about it because it wasn't a good thing. And
yeah,
Mama always said, if you can't say anything good, don't say anything at all. So
yeah. And I don't think it's a bad thing, right? More so the stories you were there when it happened.
yeah,
We're not doctors, right? If
just my side of it. Yeah, the rope could
Yep,
have caused it a little also because it still was around his neck, but
yeah.
I just saw his fingers digging in, and I thought of it before it even happened. That Gene LaBelle used to grab guys and choke them out, and they would pass out. He did it to his son all the time, and that was kind of a joke. So he wasn't out that long, but definitely scared the crap out of all of us.
Oh, I'm sure.
Yeah,
No, absolutely fantastic stories. Like I said, hopefully I'll add in a couple of the scenes that you mentioned. I'll make sure to add in a couple of the snippets so that people can see exactly what we're talking about,
right on.
refresh their memory a little bit. I think that'll help. But yeah,
Yeah,
I'm definitely obviously you and I both live not all that far really from one another, which I think is funny as well. But um, I'll get
right
together.
now I'm only here till the end of July working on a movie called Dark Matter, and when I'm done with that, I go back to New Mexico. I have a house in New Mexico.
I would, as you and I were discussing before we started recording. Yeah, I'd take New Mexico's weather today. The
Right.
Midwest, it's a little dreary,
Although
but
it snowed, I was there for the weekend, for the Easter weekend. I was there to see my granddaughter and my wife and son, and it snowed pretty doggone good.
yeah, they do get a fair amount of snow there. But still, I'd take that on certain days over the Midwest. But I
Yeah,
know I will certainly keep in touch. I'll be
right
passing your contact and name around just to some of the people that I know that run some of the bigger cons. It is the 40th anniversary of Back to the Future, so in my eyes, getting you involved in as much as we can, I think, would be a good thing.
on.
Um,
Yeah, I'll try it. That was the first one I've ever been to. Was talk about some people watching. Oh my
Boy,
God.
yeah. If nobody's ever been to a Comic Con, and we're talking about Chicago C2E2, it's it's a half the fun for me is just what, yeah,
Watching the
seeing,
people. Yeah, the different costumes,
yeah,
the what's it called? Cosplay.
yeah, the cosplay.
Yeah.
People are so creative. So yeah, for me, because I'm stuck in a booth, right? And while I'm taking
Yeah.
credit cards and payments and doing all that, for me, it's talking to people and just free people watching and seeing the costumes
Seeing
that
them
people.
go by. I saw a
Oh,
booth down further down from you. they were doing LARPing, and I worked on a movie where we LARPed.
Yeah.
I was in a green fluorescent gorilla suit with a couple buddies of mine, and we were having a sword fight with those soft rubber swords. And it did remind. I sat down and watched those guys LARP for a while. Just reminded me of the movie.
Yeah, if anybody isn't familiar with LARPing, that's basically what it is, right? It's cosplaying with swords and
Yeah,
shields, and you're basically like, well, there's all kinds of different LARPing, but
it's a
you're
war. It's an
yeah,
arm.
it's a war.
Yeah, we did it on a movie called Knights of Badassdom.
That's a good title there.
Yeah, it didn't do very good, but it's out there somewhere.
No, I'll have to look it up. Yeah, no, again, I'm gonna link to your IMDb page, a DB page down below, so people can go just look at the. It really is like a book of movies that you've been involved in. It's a very long list.
It's been very, very good to me. I've been in the business for a long time and made a good living and met some really, really great people, great celebrities, great directors, great crew members, and working with a great crew here in Chicago right now. And I've got to a point in my career where I only want to work with the good people, the people that are going to stand behind you and be loyal to you.
Yeah.
And it's great. It's great. I'll keep working until I can't.
Yeah. Well, I hope that's a long time from now. You've obviously paid your dues, uh, looking at a lot of the movies that you've been in. But
Yeah,
no, yeah, we'll keep in touch,
right on.
and I'll be passing your info along to some of the people that I know.
Cool.
Hopefully, yeah, it leads to something.
Like
And
I said, I'm still working. I don't know if I can make it to the Comic Con, but it might be something good.
yeah, no, 100%. If that's the least I can do,
It's
I,
all
I
good.
think I think more people should have the opportunity outside of this video, to hear your stories and to be able to meet you,
Right on.
and just to say thank you. Right, you were involved in quite a few big scenes in that movie, and helped create some of the iconic scenes as you mentioned. So very much appreciate it.
Sure, man. Nice to
Yeah,
meet you too.
of
Appreciate
course.
it.
I appreciate you stopping by the booth when you did. This wouldn't have happened. So
I couldn't help it. I stopped at another booth and said, "Hey, I worked on that." I forget which one it was, and they were just kind of, "Oh well, fine." Well, like, "Oh, okay, I'm out of here."
that
But you
wasn't my. Yeah, I don't know what I looked like, but I was probably like my eyes were
no, no,
probably
you
big
didn't just look
sockets.
normal, but you were friendly and nice, and I appreciate visiting with you.
Of course. No, Ben, I really appreciate it. And I hope you enjoy the rest of your time in Chicago.
I
Safe
will.
travels home. And obviously, well, I'll be in touch soon.
Go, man.
All right,
Take
my
care.
man. I appreciate it.
Right on.